Have you ever found yourself standing in the kitchen, maybe eating some crackers right over the sink, and it suddenly hits you that you haven't spoken a single word all day? That the only sound for hours has been the low hum of the refrigerator? Most of us just brush this off. We think it's a normal part of getting older, of living a quieter life. But I need you to listen closely. In my 30 years as a doctor specializing in the health of seniors, I've seen this seemingly harmless quiet for what it truly is. It's the beginning of a process I call emotional shrinkage. It is a silent, creeping thing, where your world, your energy, and your very joy gets smaller and smaller, day by day, often without you even noticing it's happening. And I'm here to tell you something that might come as a shock. The greatest threat to your independence as you get older. It isn't a fall in the shower, or misplacing your keys. It's these quiet, innocent-looking habits. Habits that can methodically steal your spirit, long before your body ever thinks of giving out. I have seen this happen hundreds of times. This isn't just theory from a medical journal. This is reality. Let me tell you about a patient of mine, John. A wonderful man, a retired engineer, still sharp as a tack. But after his beloved wife of 50 years passed on, he started doing these harmless things. He'd tell me, "Doc, I'm fine. I have everything I need right here." But when I saw him in my office, he was fading. Not his body, but his spark. That light in his eyes was gone. He was slowly, quietly, disappearing inside his own home. Now, John's story has a hopeful turn, because together, we identified 10 specific traps he had fallen into. In this video today, I'm going to walk you through each one of these 10 hidden traps. More importantly, for each one, I will give you the simple, no-cost prescription I gave him to help him reclaim his joy and his life. And please, I urge you to stay with me until the very end. The 10th and final habit is the one I see most often. It's the one that people tragically mistake for wisdom. But it's actually the one that can quietly close the door on a vibrant life, for good. Understanding it could truly be a lifeline for you, or for someone you love. My name is Dr. Robert Miller. The advice you're about to hear isn't from a textbook. It's from thousands of hours spent in my exam room, simply listening to people just like you, share their deepest fears and their quiet triumphs. Before we dive in, I truly want to know how many of us have felt this. If what I just shared feels familiar, if you've ever had a moment like that in the quiet of your own home, please, just take a second to comment a simple yes below. It lets me know you understand, and more importantly, it shows others they are not alone. Okay, let's get started. Alright, let's get into our first trap. This is one of the most common and most invisible ones I see. Trap number 1. Stopping meaningful meals. I'm talking about the habit of eating mechanically, almost like it's a chore to be finished. A banana on the way out the door. A handful of crackers over the kitchen sink. Maybe some soup, eaten straight from the can. When you're living alone, it's so easy to tell yourself, why bother with the fuss? It's just me. It feels efficient, simple. But something much deeper and more damaging is happening. From a medical standpoint, this habit sends a powerful, negative signal to your brain. Each time you eat without intention, without sitting down, without using a real plate, you are subconsciously telling yourself that you are not worth the effort. Think about that for a moment. You are not worth the effort. This becomes especially critical as we age. When a spouse is no longer there to share a meal with, or the daily structure of a job disappears, these small but vital social rituals are often the first things to go. And the symptom isn't just loneliness. It's a deep, draining fatigue. A feeling that the days have lost their color and taste. This reminds me so much of a patient of mine, Walter. A proud veteran, he always kept himself in good shape. He came to see me because he'd lost 15 pounds, and he couldn't figure out why. He wasn't sick. After talking for a while, we realized the truth. He had simply forgotten the joy of eating. His meals had become fuel, nothing more. Behavioral psychologists have a name for this. They call it the erosion of our self-care rituals. These are the small, repeated acts of kindness we do for ourselves that anchor our self-worth. So here is the prescription I gave Walter, and the one I'm giving to you now. It's incredibly simple. Tonight, I challenge you to sit down at your table as if you are preparing for an honored guest. Use a proper plate. Maybe play a favorite song from your younger years. It doesn't matter if it's a frozen dinner or a simple sandwich. The food is not the point. The point is the act of honoring yourself. Because that guest is you. And you are still worth it. Now, let's move on to the second trap. This one is incredibly common, and it often feels like a comfort, when in reality, it's a thief. Trap number 2. Letting the TV fill the silence. We've all done it. The house feels a little too quiet, a little too empty, so we reach for the remote. The television comes on, and suddenly there are voices, music, laughter. Feels like company. But it isn't. It's a distraction. Your brain is a magnificent thing, but it cannot truly rest or process emotions when it's constantly being bombarded with noise. That non-stop background chatter actually elevates your body's stress hormone, cortisol. So while you think you're relaxing, your body is in a low-grade state of alert. This becomes especially true as we face the natural quiet that comes with later life. For many, silence isn't peaceful. It's heavy. It's where the memories live, where the loneliness can creep in. And it is so much easier to listen to a game show than to listen to our own thoughts. The most common symptoms I see from this are a profound sense of exhaustion, even after a full night's rest, a kind of brain fog that makes it hard to focus, and a nagging, empty feeling that you just can't shake. Neuroscientists have discovered something fascinating. True silence, even in short bursts, actually helps the brain to regenerate cells and process the day's events. It is a healing balm for the mind. I think of my patient, Eleanor, a wonderful lady who told me her television was her constant companion. It was on from morning until night. But when I asked her what she'd watched the day before, she just shook her head. She said, "Doctor, I couldn't tell you. It's just noise." Then she looked at me and said something I'll never forget. It's existence, not living. So, here is the simple prescription I gave to Eleanor. You don't have to get rid of your television. Just start with 15 minutes of intentional silence a day. Turn it off and just sit. Notice the light in the room. Listen to the sounds outside your window. Tonight, I want you to try it. Turn off the television and just listen. You might be surprised to hear your own thoughts, your own voice, once again. If you are willing to try just 15 minutes of silence, I'd love to know. Show your commitment by commenting with the simple word "quiet" below. Alright, let's talk about our third trap. This one can build so slowly, so logically, that you might not even recognize it as a trap until you're deep inside it. Trap number 3. Treating the front door like a wall. This begins when we stop stepping outside for no particular reason. First, it's a cold winter. Then, our joints are feeling a bit achy. Before we know it, months have passed, and the front door has gone from being a doorway to being a barrier, a wall. Medically, this has a profound effect on us. When you stay indoors all day, you're not just missing the fresh air. You're depriving your body of sunlight, which is essential for producing vitamin D. And when those levels drop, it directly impacts your mood, making you feel sluggish and blue. And there's something else happening in your brain. Every small social interaction, a wave to the mail carrier, a quick hello to a neighbor walking their dog, it keeps the social part of your brain active and healthy. When those tiny interactions stop, that part of your brain, in a very real way, begins to shrink. The common symptoms are a quiet, creeping sense of isolation, a mild depression you can't quite put your finger on, and a feeling of being disconnected from the very world you live in. Public health studies have consistently shown that seniors who have even brief, daily interactions with their neighbors live longer, healthier lives. I had a patient, Mr. Frank, a retired schoolteacher. He had a particularly tough winter with his arthritis, and he didn't leave his house for almost 3 months. Groceries were delivered. His mail came through the slot. When the first warm day of spring finally arrived, I urged him to just try sitting on his front porch for a few minutes. He called me later that day, and his voice, it sounded different, lighter. He said, "Doc, I felt the sun on my face. A little boy on a bicycle said hello. I felt like I was born again." So here is my simple prescription. It's not about running errands or taking a long walk. It is much, much simpler than that. For today, just open your front door for 1 minute. That's it. 1 minute. Stand in the doorway. Feel the air. Listen to the sounds of your neighborhood. Please remember this. That door is not a wall built to keep the world out. It is a bridge. A bridge that connects you back to life. Let's move on to our fourth trap. This one is a master of disguise, because it often sounds like wisdom, like common sense. It's the simple, powerful phrase, "I'm too old for that." We use it for everything, don't we? Trying a new type of food, learning how to use a new gadget, even just visiting a part of town we're not familiar with. It feels safe, reasonable. But from a neurological perspective, it is one of the most damaging things you can say to yourself. For a long time, we used to think the brain was like a piece of hardware that just wore out over time. But modern science has shown us something incredible, something called neuroplasticity. In simple terms, it means that your brain never loses its ability to form new connections, to learn, to adapt, no matter your age. This isn't just about hobbies. Each new thing you try, each new piece of information you learn, is like building a new road in your mind. The more roads you have, the more resilient your brain becomes against the natural effects of aging. When you say, "I'm too old," you are essentially telling your brain to stop doing the very thing that keeps it healthy and strong. The symptom of this trap is a world that feels like it's shrinking, a feeling of being left behind, a quiet boredom that settles in when curiosity fades. I'll never forget my patient, Clara. At 82, she was convinced her learning days were long over. Her grandson gave her a tablet for her birthday, and for weeks, it just sat on her table, collecting dust. She told me, "Doctor, that's for the young folks." But one day, just out of curiosity, she turned it on. She learned how to look up the weather. Then she found she could visit the great museums of the world from her own armchair. The next time I saw her, her eyes were sparkling. She was talking about Van Gogh and ancient Egypt. The tablet didn't make her younger, but it made her world bigger. So, here is your prescription. I am not asking you to learn a new language or climb a mountain. I'm asking for something much smaller. The next time you go for a walk, just turn left where you usually turn right. Take a different path. Notice what's new. That small act of novelty is an exercise for your brain. It tells it, we're not done yet. We are still growing. Okay, let's address our fifth trap. This one is a physical manifestation of that emotional shrinkage we talked about earlier. It's when your world literally gets smaller. Trap number 5. The bedroom retreat. It almost always starts for reasons of convenience. First, you bring in a comfortable chair so you can read. Then, the television follows. Soon, you have a small table for snacks, and everything you need, your books, your phone, the remote control, is all within arm's reach. Before you know it, your bedroom has become your living room, your dining room, and your entire world. The rest of the house starts to feel unused, distant. It starts collecting dust. From a physiological standpoint, this is incredibly draining. Your body was designed to move through different spaces. Walking from the bedroom to the kitchen, sitting in a different chair in the living room. These small acts keep your muscles engaged and your circulation flowing. When you confine yourself to a single room, your physical world shrinks, and your energy levels plummet right along with it. This is why one of the most common symptoms of the bedroom retreat is sleeping for 8, 9, or even 10 hours, but still waking up feeling exhausted. You're not resting. Your body is in a state of stagnation. I think of my patient, Mr. David. A very practical man. He proudly called his bedroom his command center. He had everything he needed right there. But he came to me complaining of a persistent brain fog and a lack of energy. I didn't prescribe a pill. I prescribed a change of scenery. I gave him a simple instruction. For 1 week, I want you to have your morning cup of coffee in the living room, sitting by the window. He called me a few days later. He said, "Doctor, it's the strangest thing. I feel more awake." That small act of moving to a different space was enough to signal to his brain and body that the day had truly begun. So, here is my prescription for you. It is a simple but powerful rule. No more meals in the bedroom. That's the first step. Let the kitchen be for eating. Let the living room be for relaxing and watching television. Allow each room in your house to have its purpose again. Your home is meant to be your sanctuary, not your cage. Start today by reclaiming one small corner of it. We now arrive at our sixth trap. This is an interesting one, because it's a mistake we often make with the best of intentions. We do it because we want to hold on to our sense of freedom and spontaneity. Trap number 6. Fearing routine. Many of us, especially after retiring, resist the idea of a fixed routine. We think, I've had a schedule my whole life. Now is my time to be free. We see routine as the enemy of excitement, as a sign that life has become dull and predictable. But in my clinical experience, the exact opposite is true. For a senior living alone, a healthy routine isn't a cage. It's a launching pad. From a neurological perspective, our brains crave a certain amount of predictability. When you have a simple, established routine, especially in the morning, you eliminate a whole series of small, draining decisions. This is crucial as we age, because our cognitive energy is a finite resource. A good routine frees up that precious mental energy so you can use it for things that bring you joy and engagement, rather than just getting through the morning. The most common symptom I see when a healthy routine is absent is a day that feels aimless, a feeling of drifting. You might find yourself at 3 in the afternoon, wondering where the day has gone, and feeling like you haven't accomplished a thing. I remember my patient George, a retired history professor. He was a brilliant man, but he felt lost in the unstructured days of retirement. He told me he woke up every day feeling adrift. I suggested something very simple. I called it a morning anchor. For him, it was making a pot of tea, sitting in the same chair by the window, and reading one chapter of a book. That's it. Nothing complicated. He told me later that this small, 20-minute ritual changed everything. It didn't make his day predictable. It gave his day a foundation. He said, "Doctor, it gives my day an anchor." So, that is my simple prescription for you. Don't think of it as a rigid schedule. Think of it as creating your own personal anchor. It could be 5 minutes of gentle stretching. It could be listening to one favorite song. It could be writing one sentence in a journal. Start tomorrow morning with one small, predictable, positive action. It will give your day a gentle push forward, a sense of purpose from the moment you wake up. We have arrived at trap number 7. And this one is deeply personal. It's about the relationship we have with the person staring back at us from the mirror. Trap number 7. Avoiding the mirror. I'm not talking about vanity here. I'm talking about something much more fundamental. As we get older and live alone, it's easy to stop, really looking at ourselves. We might glance in the mirror to make sure there's no food on our chin, but we stop seeing the person there. We tell ourselves, "Who am I trying to impress?" We wear the same comfortable clothes day after day. We might not bother to shave or comb our hair with the same care we once did. In the medical community, we have a term for this. It's called self-neglect. And it is one of the most powerful early warning signs of depression and declining self-worth. It's a quiet, visual way of saying, "I don't matter anymore." But here's the scientific truth. The simple act of personal grooming, washing your face, putting on a clean shirt, brushing your hair, it activates the reward centers in your brain. It releases dopamine, the feel-good chemical. It's a scientifically proven mood booster. When you stop doing these things, you are literally robbing your brain of a natural source of happiness. The most common symptom of this is a feeling of invisibility, a sense that you are fading, not just from the world, but from yourself. I think of my patient, Helen, a lovely woman who had lost her husband a few years back. She came to me feeling down, but couldn't explain why. I noticed she was wearing a wrinkled sweatshirt. I asked her about a beautiful silk scarf she used to wear. She just shrugged and said, "Oh, I don't go anywhere special anymore." I gave her a simple prescription. I told her to wear that scarf. Not for anyone else. Just for her. She came back a week later, wearing the scarf. And she looked brighter. She told me the most amazing thing. She said, "When I put it on and looked in the mirror, for the first time in years, I felt like myself again." So here is my challenge to you. Tomorrow morning, don't just glance in the mirror. Stop, look, and find one thing you like. The kindness in your own eyes. The way you smile. And then, do one small thing to honor that person. Put on a clean shirt. Splash some cool water on your face. Acknowledge yourself. Because you are still here. And you are still worth seeing. The power of this simple act is incredible. If this surprises you, let me know in the comments by simply typing "wow." We are now at trap number 8. This one happens outside the walls of your home, but it starts with a decision made inside. It's the choice to become invisible in your own neighborhood. Trap number 8. Fading from the neighborhood. This is a slow fade. It begins when you stop going to the neighborhood potluck. Then, you might stop waving to the family across the street. New neighbors move in, and you think to yourself, "Oh, I won't bother them. They have their own busy lives." Over time, you pull back further and further, until you become a stranger on your own street. You're there, but you're not really part of it anymore. From a scientific perspective, this is a dangerous path. We humans are fundamentally social creatures. We are hardwired for connection. Research has shown that even what they call micro-interactions, those tiny, seemingly insignificant moments of social contact, have a massive impact on our mental health. That brief wave, that nod, that quick hello. They are signals to our brain that we are part of a tribe, that we are safe, that we belong. When these signals disappear, a deep sense of loneliness can set in, even when you're surrounded by people. It's a feeling of being on the outside, looking in. The story I shared in the beginning about my patient Mr. Henderson and the power outage is the perfect example of this. Two men, living right next door to each other, both feeling completely alone. Each one was waiting for the other to make the first move. They both assumed the other person wasn't interested. But all it took was one knock on the door to break the spell. That story is a powerful reminder that community doesn't always come to you. Sometimes, you have to go to it. So, here is my prescription. It is one of the smallest, but most powerful things you can do. Tomorrow, make it a point to wave. That's all. Wave to the mail carrier. Wave to the person jogging by. Wave to the teenager mowing the lawn next door. You don't have to start a long conversation. Just let them know you see them. Let them know you are still here. Your presence is a gift to your neighborhood, even if no one says it out loud. You are part of the fabric of your community. Start reweaving that connection, one simple wave at a time. We have now reached our 9th trap. This one comes from a place of love, of honor, and of deep respect. And that is exactly what makes it so powerful and so dangerous. Trap number 9. Living in a museum of memories. After we lose a loved one, especially a spouse, there is a natural desire to preserve their space. To keep things just as they left them. A pair of reading glasses on the nightstand. Their favorite coat still hanging by the door. A workshop or a sewing room left completely untouched. We tell ourselves we are honoring their memory. But there is a fine line between honoring the past and being imprisoned by it. From a psychological perspective, grief needs to be a process. It needs to move. When our physical environment becomes frozen in time, it can cause our emotional healing to freeze right along with it. A home that has become a perfect, untouched museum of the past has no room for the present, and no space for the future. The most common symptom I see from this is a feeling of being stuck. A persistent, heavy sadness that just doesn't seem to lift with time. The world moves on outside, but inside the home, and inside your heart, it's always yesterday. I remember a patient of mine, a wonderful woman named Rose. Her husband had been an avid woodworker, and for 2 years after he passed, she couldn't bring herself to even open the door to his workshop in the garage. It was exactly as he'd left it. She told me it felt disrespectful to move anything. But that closed door was a constant, painful reminder of her loss. Gently, we worked together. I didn't tell her to get rid of everything. I suggested she start by choosing one tool, his favorite hammer, and finding a special place to display it in the house. Then, we found a local youth center that taught woodworking to teenagers, and she donated the rest of the tools. She knew they would be used and appreciated. The last step was to open the curtains in that workshop and let the sunlight in. She turned it into a beautiful little spot for her indoor plants. She told me, "Doctor, the room can finally breathe again." And I think, so can I. So, here is my prescription. It's not about erasing memories. Never. It is about making room for life to walk alongside them. Start with one drawer, or one shelf. Go through it, and choose one or two special items to keep and cherish. Then, let the rest go. You are not letting go of your loved one. You are letting go of the stagnation. You are inviting life back into your home. Alright, let's dive into our final point. Mistake number 10. Believing growth is over. This might be the most subtle, and perhaps the most heartbreaking mistake of all. It's the whisper that tells you learning is for the young, that your chapter of discovery is closed, and that the person you are today is the person you'll be until the end. Society often hands us this script, doesn't it? A script that says after a certain age, our main job is simply to manage our decline. But science, and the human spirit, tell a profoundly different story. Research now shows that one of the most powerful predictors of health and happiness in our later years isn't cholesterol levels or blood pressure. It's having what psychologists call a growth mindset. It's the belief that you can still learn, adapt, and become more. The reason this becomes so critical as we age is that a mind that stops growing begins to stagnate. This can lead to a feeling of being stuck, of being irrelevant, which so many people silently struggle with. The famous Blue Zone studies, which analyzed the longest living and healthiest communities on Earth, discovered a universal truth among them. They never, ever stopped learning and engaging with new things. This is precisely what saved a man named John. When I met him, he was 81, and he felt his world shrinking with each passing day. His wife had passed, his kids were busy, and he told me, "I feel like I'm just waiting." It was a heavy, quiet sadness. On a whim, he started playing with a simple drawing app on a tablet his grandkids had left for him. It was clumsy at first, but it was something new. Today, at 83, John is an active member of an online writing club he founded. He just told me on the phone last week, with a real spark in his voice, "You know, I feel like I still have so much to say." So here is the action I want you to take. You don't need to enroll in a university or write the next great American novel. The solution is much smaller, and it's completely free. Just choose one single thing you are even the slightest bit curious about. Maybe it's learning about a specific bird that visits your window, or figuring out how to bake bread, or understanding a piece of history. And just give that curiosity 10 minutes today. That's all. Growth in this chapter of your life isn't measured by speed. It's measured by depth. You are still growing. Let's come back, for a moment, to my patient, John. Remember him? The man whose world had shrunk to the size of a single armchair. Today, John is thriving. He didn't just start eating at his dining room table again. He made it a place of connection. He now hosts a weekly coffee morning for a neighbor he barely knew before. He didn't move, or get younger, or find some magic pill. He simply decided to open the door, both literally and figuratively. And that, right there, is the heart of everything we've talked about today. The greatest lesson from all my years in practice is this: aging well isn't about avoiding the inevitable. It's about actively choosing to show up for your own life. In small ways. Every single day. Your life is still unfolding, and you are still the main character. As we wrap up, we've explored some profound shifts that can truly transform our golden years. But knowledge is only powerful when we put it into action. So now, I have one important question for you. What is the one commitment you are making to yourself after watching this video? It could be as simple as, I will design a quiet lunch with a friend, or I will spend 10 minutes exploring something I'm curious about. Please share your personal commitment in the comments below. Reading them inspires us all, and it makes your promise real. Let's inspire each other to take that first step. And if you found real value and inspiration in our time together, show your support by giving this video a like. It truly helps this message reach others who might need it. To ensure you continue on this journey with us and never miss another video full of life-changing wisdom, hit that subscribe button. It's more than just subscribing. It's joining a community dedicated to navigating these years together, with dignity and with joy. Finally, think of one person who needs to hear this message today, and please share it with them. You might just change their life. Until next time, be kind to yourself. You are still here, and that is a beautiful thing.